Hi, everybody, and welcome to the next episode of Cut It Out. I'm Pete Wright with Canon USA, and I'm joined today, as always, with John Panazzo of ImagePrint. And we've got some pretty cool stuff to talk about today. I know, John, one of the questions I get a lot, because a lot of times I'm at schools dealing with teachers that are getting the cutting solution for the school. And one of the questions I get all the time, and I know you've heard this in other applications as well, is what if I just need to cut out letters for my bulletin board? Because I know some of the competing products that the cut it out solution has replaced, the only thing it did was cut out letters and shapes and stuff. It didn't have the ability to print. And
Right.
while the printing portion of what we have is really cool and brings an extra level to the table, a lot of these teachers and other companies are like, that's great, but what if I still just need to do the cutting out of letters and things like that for a bulletin board? And that's one of those areas I'm not as strong at, but I know you're really good at. So let's talk through that and let's see if we can demystify it, because I know it's probably a lot easier than what I think and everybody else thinks it is. I understand there's a blind cutting feature. I've seen that and I've talked about it, but you know how to actually go in and get the letters and all that kind of stuff. So
Right.
talk to me about it a little bit.
So yeah, we've been getting, more and more people asking, how do I cut vinyl? And it's funny because these are vinyl cutters, right? We took them to the next level to cut photographs and do a lot of different things with them. But we wanted to also make sure that we could still do sort of the fundamental cutting that these cutters were designed for, and that's kiss cutting vinyl. And we would call that a blind cut because unlike print and cut, where you're sending something to the printer and then you're going to cut it out, a blind cut is just sending shapes to the cutter that would either be cut out on cardstock or vinyl, to then do vinyl lettering like you would traditionally do in a sign shop. So ImagePrint can do all those things, and there's some sort of hidden gems inside ImagePrint that a lot of people don't recognize that are there. And one of those gems is the ability to read in SVG files, which are basically universal vector file format.
That's really cool.
And when ImagePrint reads in an SVG file, it automatically sees it as a cut path. So there's no contouring you need to do. There's nothing. So if you're using a design package like CorelDRAW or Illustrator, and you save out your artwork as an SVG file, bring it into ImagePrint, we automatically know, oh, this is a cut path. We're going to cut it. And you can perf cut that onto cardstock to make what you said, letters for a bulletin board, for example, or projects, for kids to color on in school, or more sign related, cutting into vinyl for vinyl lettering. And
so let's just say the school has no budget and they can't afford CorelDRAW or one of these other softwares. Is there another option for them to use? Is there a good software option that will allow them to do some of the things we're talking about in terms of just getting basic shapes? What's out there?
There actually is a great open source design application called Inkscape.
Okay, I've heard
and
that.
it's free to download and use. It runs on both Mac and Windows computers. I've used it for years for different design things because I'm not somebody who needs to use Illustrator on a daily basis and therefore pay for a subscription. Right? I have periods of time where I want to do some vector design work, and Inkscape works really well. There's a whole slew of YouTube videos on how to learn how to use it. I would recommend, before I just sort of did a general, how do I use Inkscape? I would pick a project like, how do I create text that follow a path, something specific. Find the YouTube video that teaches how to do that, and then, break it up into segments of, I want to know how to do this. Find a video that teaches you how to do that. Kind of what this vlog is all about. It's project oriented. you want to learn how to do something, find the episode that talks about that and follow along with it.
And so Inkscape actually outputs as an SVG then?
Yeah, so Inkscape, you can create objects, convert those to paths, put a stroke on them, and then save them out as an SVG file. You can also save out as PDF if you want to use those files for other, types of work as well. But, strictly, for ImagePrint, the value of saving as a SVG file versus a PDF is a PDF file. Number one, in order to have a cut path in it, you'd have to be able to set a cut path to a spot color and then name that spot color. That's something you can do in Illustrator and Corel, for example, but it's not something that's really common in a lot of other design packages. So it's easier just to save as an SVG file. ImagePrint will automatically know what to do with that file. And we're going to show that. I'm going to roll some video that
I think you've got a video that walks us through that. So let's
walks us through sort of the basics of I'm just going to do our ImagePrint logo in Inkscape and show how to convert the object to a path, set a stroke on it, save it as SVG. What happens when you bring it into ImagePrint? We're going to cut that onto some cardstock and sort of take you through the entire process of doing a blind cut so that people can see exactly how it's done.
Perfect. Let's check it out.
All right. So without further ado, let me key up this video and we'll talk our way through it. All right. So here we are in Inkscape, and awesome. I'm going to set our font. We use a Londonderry font for our logo, and I'm just going to type in ImagePrint. And now ImagePrint's an object. I'm going to rotate that. Enlarge it a bit.
And this works in vectors, right? So everything
this is all vector.
Clean edges.
Right? So that's the importance of a design package to do this, because an SVG file is a vector format. So we're going to go up here to path, and I'm going to go object to path. And now we're making this text is now a path. And with that, I can take the fill off of it. And I'm going to add the stroke to the outline. And now we have this outlined path.
Okay.
And I'm going to set the stroke size. And then the last thing I'm going to do is set a stroke color. What I like to do when I'm doing a path, just so I know that it's a path if I come back to an older file, is I always set it to like this green color. And that way I know in a design file, this is a path, and it'll be a cut path.
Quick and easy.
Yeah, I'm going to save it as Inkscape's native format is an SVG file. So I'm just going to give it a name, and I'm going to save it. And it's really as simple as that to create an SVG outline. And we're going to read it in, open it up into ImagePrint, and we'll see that right away, because I have cut it out turned on. When this file comes in, ImagePrint's going to automatically see that it's a cut path. And nothing further needs to be done. You're ready to go. And that's the beauty of using a design package when you want to cut vinyl or you want to do letters and things like that, objects and shapes. This is a cut path that's ready to go.
So it's already got the purple line there, which indicates a cut path.
If I turn cut it out off, notice it disappears, right? It's nothing but a cut path.
And
I have blind cut
there to print. So you've got blind cut turned on. So there's not going to be any printing.
Right. There'll be no registration marks on the page. I do hit print, but all it does is create these vectors for us to send over to the cutter. So when I go into the spooler, it just goes through the process of creating those cut vectors, and it's there ready to go.
It just shows up as a cut job now. So now you could load any vinyl or any color paper or anything you want in there.
So I'm going to kill two birds with one stone. So instead of cutting into vinyl right now, I'm actually cutting into some construction cardstock.
Okay.
And the reason being is I want to show how easy it is Not only if this was vinyl to cut this out, of course, with vinyl, I'd be doing a kiss cut. Here I'm doing a perf cut because I'm actually going to pop these letters out. And it's a great way. I get asked a lot of times, can you do stencils with
Mhm.
this? And stencils is just the portion that's left over after doing a blind cut and cutting out the letters.
Yeah, I've actually had a guitar company, a luthier, ask me about the same thing. They're like, "Can you do stencils with this?" Because they wanted to be able to cut their logo out to be able to
Yep.
uh,
So there's
put
the
it on
letters
there and then
popped
paint.
out, and
That's
there's the
really cool.
stencil. And I'll pause it here. Um, it's as simple as that. So, you know, if I needed a stencil for something, it's just the sort of the inverse, what's left over
Hmm.
from doing a blind cut and taking the object out of the media.
So super easy to use, doesn't require you to buy any additional software other than what you already have, and lets you take what you've already got to another level and also further replace products that this would have been replacing to begin with. So
Right.
that's really cool.
So let
Huh.
me unshare this, and we'll
Okay.
kind of finish up with that. But it's really is that easy, and ImagePrint itself is more of a facilitator, right?
Hmm.
Its whole job is to recognize sort of by file format what you're trying to do. You
Hmm.
load images, it puts cut vectors around them. You load SVG files, it knows, hey, this is a shape or a form, and we're going to cut it out. Other types of files, if it's something on a white background that needs to be contoured, then you have to go into the extra step of contouring at ImagePrint. But the beauty of using a design package is it goes right from design to cut. And ImagePrint facilitates that and automatically recognizing that that's what you want to do with the SVG file. And
Perfect.
somewhere down the road, hopefully, as ImagePrint continues to mature, we'll have those text abilities built right into ImagePrint to be able to do some of that ourselves. But I still think, when you get into design work, you want to learn, a design package like Inkscape if you don't have Illustrator or Corel Draw, because you can do so much more. You can take text and wrap it around a shape, or do some more elaborate design work. So it's a good skill to sort of add to the repertoire.
Yeah, and they're not skills that take a lot of time or super hard or intimidating. And there's lots of great YouTube tutorials out there on how to use those. So that's always kind of a nice thing. And it just seems, I mean, every time I talk to you, there's a new feature or there's an update coming. Uh, just, I think the fun part for me in the last few years of working with you on this project is typically when software companies are coming out with firmware updates, it's to fix bugs. When you guys come out with firmware updates, it's to add features. And I think so many people are used to with, programs like Adobe and things that are out there like that. They're waiting every 6 months to a year for a new version to come out to get new features. But anything other than that is to get bug fixes. And you're the reverse. I mean, it's less bug fixes and more new features. And that's one of the things as a user, everybody that's watching this can always look forward to the fact that there's always something in the works. There's always improvements. There's always new things. And to that end, a lot of them come from people like you that are actually watching. Hey, can we do this? We'd like to see this. We'd like to use this. I mean, I've been there with John when you've had conversations with end users that have said, we'd really like to do this. And you're like, give me a couple of weeks. Let me work on that. Next thing you know, here's this new feature that you hadn't even thought of. I hadn't thought of that you've incorporated in the software that not only resolves the problem for that customer, but lots of others as well. So in your feedback below in your comments, if there's something that you think would be useful or helpful, odds are it might be already there and you just don't know about it. But if it's not, let us know. And let's see if it's something that, John and his team of uh, just inventive experts over there can work into the software. Because honestly, if one of you would like to see it, there's probably a lot of others that would use that same feature as well.
Yeah.
So, John, with that, if there's any other questions, if you have things that you'd like to see us talk about or things you'd like to hear us discuss, leave it in the notes down below so that we can cover this in future episodes. John,
Yeah.
anything else from you today?
Just again to reiterate, I just think if you have a large format printer, if there's one piece of equipment that will be the most valuable companion to large format printing, it's the addition of a cutter. It just changes your world when it comes to large format. And I just like to reiterate that over and over again. But yeah, please leave a comment, something you want to see us do and cover. This particular episode, there was somebody who left a comment in an earlier episode about cutting vinyl and doing blind cuts. And then, sort of the weeks after that, I started getting phone calls in, people asking the same thing. And it's like, hey, it's probably about time we cover this. And
It is.
and so
And in coming episodes, I think in just the next week, we're planning to film a whole bunch of new episodes for just the next several months. And I know we're going to be covering a lot of things that people have asked about. So,
yeah, and for me, it's like, I have access to a lot of this equipment, and so do you. I'm a hobbyist woodworker. I make templates all the time.
Yeah.
Route, to become routing templates. But first, I cut them into, I cut them on the cutter. I design my shapes in Inkscape, and then I cut them out, and then they become routing templates down the road. This stuff can be used for a lot of different things.
Perfect.
So without that, we'll say goodbye and close out this episode.
Yeah. Thank you, everybody, for joining us on this episode of Cut It Out, and we'll see you on the next one.
All right. Bye-bye.